Good time zone. Sweet world. It is Saturday, October 26th, 2025. Hello. Hi. Welcome to the program. Welcome to this Twitch stream where we will talk about video game news and play some video games. Play a video game, anyway. I've been thinking about, yesterday we were playing some Path of Exile there, and that was fun. However, very non-performant, very framey. And that is, so I did some digging on that because it piqued my curiosity. Well, it seems like over the last, a couple of months, at some point here, they've decided to move over to DirectX 12 as their default renderer. It looks like for Path of Exile 1 and for Path of Exile 2. And the problem is that, at least for Path of Exile 2, is that OBS default renderer is Direct 3D 11 and not 12, right? So it works with DX11 the best. And I mean, of course, there are there must be a bunch of other games that work in DX12, but they must also be configured to play nicely with OBS or any just capturing needs in general. And this game seems to not be doing that right now. Anyway, the Path of Exile 2 settings does allow for your Vulkan renderer and also DX11 renderer. And so in some limited testing in local recordings, it looks like running it in DX11, even though it says it's deprecated, it runs better. The game runs, the game captures better. The game streams better. I know that it runs better. It runs reasonably well in DX11. It's just there are certain points in the game where you start to stutter and you have noticeable stuttering issues. And so that's a little bit, but it's like, you're basically comparing, well, do you do it in DX12 and have consistent, basically half of your frames gone, between a third to half of your frames gone? Or do you do it in DX11 and say, 99% of the time we're going to have whatever, and then 1% of the time there's going to be a massive stutter and it's going to look really disgusting? I think you take DX11. So thinking about testing that out later on. But first, let's get into some news as we do. This used to be the original time slot for this. It seemed to have comboed it with Pokemon when I was trying to just scale back how much I was streaming. And that didn't really leave a whole lot of time to get into any of the news in detail. So I thought we would break things out again. But unlike last time, I used to try and prepare podcasts and do all this kind of stuff. Well, newscasts really. And I don't think we'll ever really get back to that point. I think there's an article in that I've seen here that kind of speaks to why. So maybe when we get there, we'll explore that a little bit more. But we'll start with something a little bit more positive. So first of all, let me go over here, and we can take a look at this. Okay, here we go. So that might be a little bit too big. This is an IGN. This is by Wesley Yin Poole. This is Kirby Air Riders Direct with director Masahiro Sakurai set for this week. So this direct is already passed. Brace yourself for 60 minutes on the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. Very short thing here. So there's an hour long presentation over here. There's a video here by IGN saying we played Kirby Air Riders and it's absolute chaos. The kind of the key thing that I focused on here is the quote by Sakurai that was given here. Or Sakurai-san, I should say. You might be asking yourself if it's basically Mario Kart, Sakurai-san said. You race and battle with familiar characters around courses with different features, or so they say. Okay, so it basically is like Mario Kart. I even mentioned this when I received the request to make the game. I asked them if if they still wanted to do it, but as fans of the original know, the appeal of the game is not actually the races. Good morning, Amy. How are you? And so this is very strange, right? And this is the feeling that I got when I first saw that they were doing this is like, well, I mean, you're doing Mario Kart, so like, how is this different? Where's the where's the differentiation in it, right? And when they say the game, the appeal of the game is not actually the races, then what is it? Is it so? Then it's like, okay, well, maybe it's like the first of all, the multiplayer chaos apparently, but then also the collectathon nature of the game, and in particular this one, it seems like they're really going into that, right? Like hidden things, the idea of collection, and the idea of like, oh, you're going to have a checklist to pull up to, constantly be checking what are all the things that you can do, what are all the things that you can unlock. So that's out November 20th, and wide array of Kirby cast. In general, just a huge fan of Sakurai-san, so I'm sure that anything he puts out will be of quality. I think the other kind of positive thing associated with this is that there will not be any DLC. So he's saying that he has thrown everything he has into this. And so even though, like something like SSBU had a whole bunch of DLC for multiple years, Kirby Air Riders will not have that. Although, I think there there also might be a case to say, well, I don't know. I don't know. What's the cost benefit on making DLC for Kirby Air Riders? I'm not sure. The relative popularity of Kirby Air Riders versus something like SSBU. And also just the idea of like, okay, if you have a fighting game, it seems to be pretty normalized that you will have DLC passes with additional characters that have been built in, and so we can charge the same amount of the video game, if not close to the same amount of the video game itself, for, I don't know, additional characters or whatever. I guess in SSBU's case, it was always one. Oh no, there were multiple characters tied to DLC, if I remember. Anyway. In general, I think it's generally accepted now that for better or for worse, that in fighting games, additional characters will come on DLC passes or just as DLC in the shop. No, I'm personally not a fan of that, but yeah. Okay, so that's fantastic. There will be a global test ride for Kirby Air Riders next month. A free demo event active on November 8th to 9th and November 15th, 16th. Okay. Again, it will be released on November 20th. Priced at $70 US. That's weird. So is that like 90 Canadian? Okay. Okay, that's it for Kirby Air Riders. But keeping it in the world of Masahiro Sakurai-san, there is a manga based on based on his life that is coming out next month. I wish, surely there will be English subtitle of some form coming out for this. I'd be very interested in picking that up. I can't read, the Japanese, either of the Japanese alphabets, so there would be no point in me picking up this book. Also, I'm not a huge reader anyway. But the book translates as Masahiro Sakurai-san, making the world more fun with games, and promises to tell the behind-the-scenes story of the birth of games that entertain the world, Kirby and Smash Bros. 6 chapters are Young Sakurai Games, The Birth of Kirby, The Beginning of Super Smash Bros., The Founding of Sora Inc., The Legacy, and A Beacon for the Future. Oh my god. Why is he so cute? Oh man. Uh, that's awesome. What an awesome picture. That is. Can I save this? Save this image. Let's save it to the slideshow folder. Oh, that's a WebP. Never mind. I need to convert that. I can just copy the image and put it into Paint probably. Let's do that real quick. Yeah, I can do that. What is this? This is Sakurai-san. Okay. Okay, let's see here. English? No, there are currently no known plans for an official English translation. What a shame. What a shame. I mean, the guy knows he had his YouTube channel and there was like an English YouTube channel and a Japanese YouTube channel. So he's sure and he works for Nintendo and very well aware of. Oh, actually, that Kirby Air Raiders game will have a bunch of language options, which is fantastic. Seemingly lots of customizability on all that stuff. Customization that can be made around languages in that game, which I think is fantastic. But anyway, whatever. Again, like if there is no English translation, I am sure that there are any number of fan communities that will make it so. So maybe not, obviously not in physical form, but digital form, no doubt about it. So after some semi-retirement, he looks better. He doesn't look super unhealthy in that video. By the way, he returned to game development to direct Kirby Air Riders. He recently got a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Association of Media and Digital Awards in Japan. Celebrating his 35 plus years, or recognizing his 35 plus years in game development. Yeah. So he mentioned his YouTube channel without monetizing the videos as well. Okay, cool. I did something extremely irrational on my channel. I disseminated all of my knowledge as a game director to the whole world for free. Why did I do that? I feel like I'm losing to a lot of professions out there. While I'm making my own contributions, I can't even hope to compete with what doctors do, for instance. He then added, in the end, without peace and health, people cannot enjoy digital entertainment. This is something I'm conscious of. But the digital media we create has the potential to buff people's lives, making it an extremely rewarding profession. He concluded that he decided to share his knowledge for free in the hope that other developers may learn something and use his advice to do their best. I love it. I love all of this so much. I appreciate that he has done that so much. I used to watch quite a bit of it. It's just kind of fallen off of my list of all the things to do, but I got to add that back to the list. I need to put that in my calendar. So I've been moving over all of my stuff to Proton, and I'm like partway through doing that. And so the kind of where I'm at right now is that I still have a bunch of accounts on Google, right? I have a bunch of Google accounts, and then I have my Proton account. And Google is forwarding to Proton, but I haven't set up filters, or I haven't, anyway. So the end result is that I get notifications in Google, and then I get the notification in Proton with less filtering in Proton. So it's kind of a painful point that I'm at right now in the transition. And I just got to sit down and actually get it done. But hey, anyway, that's cool. All right, moving along. Pokemon Legends ZA. So finally, waiting a couple of weeks to see if and when it would pop up in here with some numbers, and we got some numbers. This is coming out 24th October, so a couple of days ago. This is VGC by posted by Chris Scullion. Pokemon Legends EA has sold 5.8 million copies in its first week, making it the 5th best Pokemon launch. Around half of these were played on Switch 2. The Pokemon Company says. So interesting number. 5.8 divided by 2 is 2.9. So about roughly 3 million on Switch 2. Which means that let's say roughly 3 million of people who picked up Pokemon are still on the old console. Okay. In a statement posted by the website, they have sold 5.8 million copies. Includes both physical and digital. Oops. Phone's going off. Ex-user Pierre485, which is the who specializes in video game sales data, which is the sad state of the world that we're in. That we anyway, whatever. Not to slight Pierre485. I'm sure they're great. Noted that the figure makes Pokemon Legends ZA the 5th best performing game in terms of week 1 sales. Okay, not overall sales, just week 1 sales. So comparing week 1's, Scarlet and Violet sold 10 million in 3 days. Legends Arceus sold 6.5 million in 3 days. Sword and Shield sold 6 million. And Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl sold 6 million. So it's like kind of on par with these two. It's right now in its first week, it's sitting on par with Sword and Shield and Diamond and Shining Pearl. Sitting just kind of below Arceus, which is, I guess what it's follow up to, or like using a lot of the same concepts or infrastructure from, and then sitting well below Scarlet and Violet, which goes to show that people after Scarlet and Violet were like, we're not so ready to shell out. At least 4 million copies worth of people were not willing to shell out in the same way that they have in the past, which is actually positive from my perspective to see that people have reacted in a way that makes sense. To say, like, listen, show us first what you have before we decide to shell out. It could come back. People could look at this, a couple of weeks on and say, okay, well, you know what, this seems reasonable. Yeah, sure. Like maybe it's like a little repetitive, maybe whatever, all this kind of stuff, all the kind of stuff that you could throw on this game. Like sure. Even as I've been going around, I'm like, man, these windows suck. That's if there's one thing that I could make better is like to have that city feel a little bit more like in the moment to moment. Never mind like the different sectors or whatever, but just like as you're walking by buildings, it's like, I don't know, man. Can we have some shops downstairs or something, or like, I don't know, man, some variety, just a little bit of variety in this stuff. Anyway, it's like a gripe, really. Let's see here. I think these are just okay, these are just quotes from the review. So I was just reading these quotes from the review thinking, should I quote them or not? But hey. So the review says the game is a love letter to older fans that betters Pokemon Legends Arceus in every way. Pokemon Legends ZA is a grand adventure that once again proves that the Legends series is home to the most interesting ideas Game Freak has. It's a game that understands its audience and feels like a love letter to both players who grew up with X and Y and those who have been here the whole time. The new battle system really worked for me, the writer of the review. And the Rogue Mega battles are bombastic fun. Even if like the traditional turn-based offering, it can get very easy as you level up your team. Okay. I don't know. I don't know enough to be able to evaluate any of that. I haven't even gotten to Rogue Mega battles, so that's news to me. Although I've probably seen them on some streams without really knowing what they are. Is it a game that understands its audience? I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true. But anyway, I'll honestly have to play more of it to know one way or another. Let's move it on. So we kind of move into some more stuff that is maybe less positive. And this is we're going to Xbox territory now. Staying with VGC, a lot of VGC this week. Again, Chris Gullion posting this. This is Xbox Sarah Bond saying that we're seeing people evolve way past the idea of exclusives. Xbox has made it clear that all of its games could be potentially ported to other platforms. So, Xbox President Sarah Bond reiterated its multi-format focus by saying the idea of exclusives has become antiquated. In an interview with Mashable, Bond was asked where blockbuster exclusives fit into the company's plans, given that a growing number of Xbox game studios are seeing releases on other platforms. And so she has said that we're really seeing people evolve way past that. Like, the biggest games in the world are available everywhere. You look at Call of Duty, you look at Minecraft, you look at Fortnite, you look at Roblox. That's what's actually driving community in gaming. That's where people gather. They have experiences, and the idea of locking it to one store or one device is antiquated for most people. You want to be able to play with your friends anywhere, regardless of what they're on. We're really leaning into that with this experience because it just opens up another way for you to play. As does cloud, as does PC, as do the consoles that we all own and have in our living room. The shift began in early 2024 when they were bringing Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, and so on to PlayStation. But since then, numerous other Xbox console exclusives have come over to PlayStation, including Indiana Jones, Forza, Gears of War Reloaded. So yeah, and it looks like their handheld will also allow for accessing other storefronts like Steam, Epic Games, and GOG, or Good Old Games. So my whole thing with this, though, is that I really feel like it's just the company line going here, right? It's we don't believe in exclusives anymore because we can't make any money by doing we can't make as much money by doing exclusives as we used to. So the way for us to survive right now and to make the most money is to sell everywhere, is to get rid of exclusives. Because like you think if they could get away with exclusives, if they had that kind of quality number of franchises and they had the ability to bring in people and lock them in on their environment, would they? Like, come on, of course they'd do it if they could. I think they just know that if they even tried to do it, that they would get smashed. And so they've known this for a while. So they're slowly kind of moving into this territory. That's all this is, really. And this ties into the other thing that is right here, which is Microsoft pushes Xbox division to hit higher profit margins. Management's goal of 30% profit margins for gaming has led to job losses and canceled projects. So, this article is basically going to rehash all of the things that we've seen from Microsoft from all the layoffs that they've had, over the past couple of years, to to raising the prices on Game Pass, to raising the prices on key franchises, raising the prices on their consoles, all of this stuff, and so they're saying Microsoft Corp is asking Xbox Gaming Division to produce profit margins that are well above industry average, ratcheting up pressure on its video game makers during a difficult time for the industry at large. So over the past 2 years, Microsoft has set an across-the-board goal of 30%. Accountability margins is what they're calling this, but I guess that's just a net profit margin. The average profit margin in the video game industry in recent years has ranged between 17 and 22%. This is using data from S&P Global Market Intelligence. While coming in between 10% and 20% for the past 6 years at Xbox. Court documents from 2023 reveal that Microsoft's gaming business had a 12% profit margin for the first 9 months in its 2022 fiscal year. I mean, you just go to a financial statement, but okay. All right, fine. And also, yeah, whatever. Anyway, if that's coming from an internal financial statement, then maybe that would be different than what is publicly reported, but okay. But yes, an analyst with S&P Global, Neil Barbour, says a 30% or better margin is usually reserved for a publisher that's really nailing it. Which, you know, I think we can say with a good amount of certainty that Microsoft Xbox has not been nailing it. And so strategies have been impacted, where they've looked for ways to cut costs and boost profits. Which, you know, like we already know all the stuff, so I don't need to regurgitate all the cancellations and all the cuts and all this kind of stuff, and the price jacks and all this kind of stuff. Okay, let's read the spokesperson line. An Xbox spokesperson said in a statement that they take a long-term view of their business, and that success doesn't look the same across every project or priority. We look at the business as a whole, balancing creativity, innovation, and sustainability across a diverse portfolio of offerings. As with any creative business, sometimes that means making hard decisions and stopping work on things that are no longer working for a variety of reasons, and shifting resources towards the projects that are more aligned with our direction and priorities. This goes kind of a long way to explain kind of a lot of the decisions that have been made and are being made. So interesting to see that that this information has come out. So you basically have a CEO or CFO rather, who's not a CPA, by the way, is a Harvard. It's a Harvard educated I don't know what MBA and business exec that is basically putting across the board 30% profit margin threshold on the entire business, the entire Microsoft business, and is then, you know, pressuring that segment into making, you know, into canceling a whole bunch of things that would have been really nice to see. Alienating portions of the fan base. And kind of, I don't know, like I mean, they say that they're taking a long-term view, and I'm kind of afraid that they're not. I'm kind of afraid that these are all like kind of short-term. How can we boost this number as high as possible? Type of things, because I think you piss a lot of people off, basically. And I mean, that's basically what they've done with me. I know for sure. I'm pretty much done. I would almost rather, honestly, they've gone from hero to villain so many times over the past couple of years. And it's like, you know, I'm really finished with new Xbox. I still have old Xbox. I actually have an old Xbox here that I'm planning to boot up at some point, as soon as I find AA batteries. But you know, like the new wave of like you know, these the Game Pass this and all this kind of stuff. I'm good. I'd rather just buy the game if I really want it. I'll wait for it to come on sale. And you know what? We're not spoiled. We are spoiled for choice. We have all kinds of choices as far as what we can play and what we don't want to play, and what we can move on from. So, you know, they just don't have the kind of sway anymore. Yeah. Real shame. So we'll see. And I guess we just got word of the of the Halo whatever Halo remaster. What is it? This is another VGC article. Halo community lead wears PlayStation T-shirt to announce Halo is on PlayStation going forward. This is the campaign evolved. This is what it's called. Yeah. Which, I was never a huge Halo fan anyway, so it's neither here or there for me, but I don't know. I think this is really sad for Xbox fans in general. Where it's gone, I think at some point here you just kind of have to accept and move on. Basically, Remedy CEO has stepped down as well. So moving along, I saw this earlier on in the week. So this is Tero Vertala has stepped down, and they have not tied it directly to FBC Firebreak, but it seems like it is a large motivator. Vertala and the board of directors have mutually agreed that Tero Vertala will step down from his position as the CEO. He was appointed to this position in 2016 and will continue at the service of the company, where he'll help with the handover of duties. Co-founder Marcus Maki has been appointed as interim CEO until a replacement can be found. And will step down from his role as chairman of the board as a result, which is good. That's good. That's good governance practice. I like that. Doesn't specify the reason, but it comes 12 days after the company issues a profit warning to shareholders due to weak sales of FBC Firebreak. Yeah. Sales had still not reached internal targets, and that they were lowering its outlook. And they're expecting a operating profit loss. They're an operating loss for the year. Which, yes, okay. So now it certainly makes sense why he's stepping down. Okay. That's fine. I mean, hey, he's still working there. So, like this isn't it's not a huge deal. I think this is actually quite positive to see. They have made a mistake with this game. They've made some mistakes, I guess, with this game. Really struggled to get any traction with players. Off a very rocky launch. And are adjusting now. And I believe I think Tero Vertala was I thought he was the CFO. I didn't even know he was the CEO. Because I remember looking into him before, and I remember him talking about finance. But yeah, they might have appointed somebody else. It looks in 2024 they had appointed somebody else, Santu Kalionpa. No, so Tero was not the CFO before. Okay, all right. Anyway, but yeah, so you make some mistakes, but you make some changes to your management and to your governance structure to try and right the ship. That's logical. And honestly, you kind of wish that other bigger corporations that are family-owned businesses that are pretending that they are not, by being publicly traded and installing themselves on the board as permanent fixtures through thick and thin. It's heartening to see that that's not the case here, and that's by doing things like this. By doing things like making these kind of changes, that's how change actually happens in these organizations. If you don't make these kind of changes, nothing fucking changes. Unless you get lucky, So we'll move on to some more kind of gloomy kind of stuff, which gets back to like why we don't do, why I don't do any kind of like, or like why I don't look into news coverage very seriously anymore. That's because more than 1,200 games journalists have left the media in the last 2 years. According to Press Engine data, the global pool of games journalists has shrunk by 25%. Okay, so and they haven't returned to the industry. It's claimed. So this is data supplied to VGC, or Video Games Chronicle, by Press Engine, a popular PR tool used by developers and publishers to distribute codes and press releases to a global database of journalists and content creators. According to Press Engine, more than 600 journalists who regularly covered video games at major outlets around the world have disappeared from their database in the past 12 months. Virtually the same number of people left their positions in the 12 months before that, the firm said. And they haven't taken up roles at other media companies since. According to the Press Engine's database of Tier 1 publications that cover games, and this is defined as major websites with 7-figure plus audiences, the global pool of game journalists has declined by 25% in just 2 years. The vast majority of these departures were from specialist games websites like IGN, Polygon, or GameSpot. If you include amateur part-time freelance writers, then the pool increases to more than 4,000 people since October of 2023, so 2 years ago. So there's a significant drop of people writing about video games. And so it's either they've decided to stop or they've been affected by layoffs. Or, an inability to get hired or get their work purchased. Or run one way or another. So according to Press Engine co-founder Gareth Williams, the most significant contributors to job losses is an overall shift towards covering the biggest games, resulting in increased competition for those who remain and harmful changes introduced by the Google search engine. Fan-led media might be the simplest route to consolidate revenue for publishers and secure the future for staff, but it's only the start. Where ad blocking is becoming, we're in a world where ad blocking is standard, and games as a service and social media are communication tools. Video games media needs to evolve and innovate. Support your favorite publications before you don't have the choice. Let's see here. The expectation is that games media will continue to shrink for at least the next 12 months. And, this might only just be the beginning. Yep. And you have kind of Google AI summaries and user behavior changes with people going directly to things like ChatGPT that are also killing these sites, because people are no longer just going to websites to read the stuff. They're just querying these systems to get an answer, which may or may not be correct. So if people want to keep reading quality content from full-time professionals, they need to support it or lose it. That's never been more critical than now. For quality games media, I continue to believe that the best form of stability is dedicated reader bases to remove reliance on funds and a hybrid of direct reader funding and advertisements. So this is that's kind of the rub, and that's pretty much where we're at, right? Like, how do I even highlight that? That's like the core kind of idea where we've reached in this whole thing. But he says, to be clear, this isn't all on demanding reader support. A not insignificant proportion of losses in games media could have been avoided with better management clarity and more realistic expectations on the part of proprietors. We've seen talented people with high work output laid off by larger parents that don't seem to have a solid strategy. The best protection is to have a healthy slate of truly independent outlets, not beholden to such parents. Supporting those is particularly vital. This is tough. I think you have the particular challenge of being in two industries that have been under pressure. Like video games journalism lives at the intersection of journalism and video games, right? And these are two industries that, right? So the journalism industry and the video games industry are both industries that are kind of under pressure. You know, so when you live at the intersection of something that is having a hard time getting funding, like both things are getting a hard time getting funding, then you're going to it feels like you're going to especially have trouble, right? And so you turn to the readers who, like, even if you subscribe for a newspaper, right? You're I don't know. I think of the Financial Times, and I think about like all these different newspapers that like really they really pitch it this way as well, where like the readers are important. We get most of our money from the readers, whatever, and they run their ads and all this kind of stuff. But I just feel like, in particular in video games, because ads have become less reliable in terms of pumping out money, there's been a real turn to trying to get trying to get money from the users in a way that I feel is kind of, I don't know, like it's starting to irk me a little bit, I suppose, is the thing. And I wish that there was more public sector support for journalism in this space, but even there, I think you run into challenges of like, reduced familiarity with video games in the first place, and then also very little incentive to support journalism anyway from the public sector, because why would you do that? You'd just be funding a resource that could then criticize you, an industry that could then have the tools to criticize you. So anyway, I continue to support those few publications that I can, and that's really the best that we can do. And I also am not getting into journalism because that's not where I can bring home the bread, I guess. All right, let's move on to speaking of bread. Let's move on to something slightly more positive. This is hilarious. McDonald's Japan is selling Street Fighter themed burgers. The Street Burgers campaign offers burgers based on Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li. This is another amazing image that I must have. But it's also making me very hungry. Let's just try to save this real quick. Put this in paint. This is Street Burgers. Street Burgers. Okay, so campaign called Street Burgers offers 3 different burgers representing Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li. Ryu's burger is the burnt garlic mayonnaise egg teriyaki burger, and it's promoted online with an animation of Ryu throwing a burger-shaped fireball at Akuma. Akuma throws a garlic-shaped fireball, and the two combine to make the burger. Chun-Li's burger is the Yurinchi fried chicken mayonnaise burger, and features a similar animation of Chun-Li fighting Guile. Ken's burger, meanwhile, is a more straightforward triple cheeseburger, and its accompanying animation has him fighting M. Bison. Let's Let's see here. If you're listening to the audio, then you'll just have to hear it and make do. But let's go.
Burrito burgers!
Round 1,はい
焦がしニンニク焦がしニンニクマヨ卵照り焼き
100で風鈴
マヨ油淋鶏マヨチキン
3大クラッシャ
トーリーチー
今最強のバーガーがマックに集結ストリートバーガーズ今だけ
トロトトト
お得なクーポンも
Amazing. Okay, anyway. So it's only likely that the Street Burgers campaign will lead to the sort of carnage caused by McDonald's recent Pokemon campaign, which was shut down early by the restaurant chain. Okay, what is this about? This I'm not sure about. Oh, it was like wasted food. Thousands of people descended on restaurants to purchase, and then a bunch of food was wasted, and so they canceled it. That's the gist of this. That sucks, man. They were doing it to get the Pokemon cards, and then they were just leaving the uneaten food on the street. That's awful, especially for a country that hates to have the garbage in public. That's especially bad. Man, awful. All right. Well, anyway, at least there's the Street Fighter thing. I don't know. Hopefully we won't resolve. Anyway, that's gonna do it for the views today. Tune in next week for more news around 1 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes later, maybe 1:30 p.m. Eastern to be safe. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye bye.